Hey, this is Brandon with Extreme Daily Drivers, where we are always balling on a budget and wrenching in our garage. And today, I have a tale of two BMWs. What's up, guys? We got a special guest today. I got Carl, aka the 0202, aka Drezoom. We were gonna get to that. Stop interrupting. But he's a buddy of mine. We used to work together, and guess what? We love cars, and he happens to love BMW. So today we're gonna talk about his two rides, the M3 and the M5. All right, so we are in the M3, right?
Yep, this is the M3. It's 97 BMW M3 four-door sedan.
And 240 horse?
240 horsepower from the factory.
BMW V6. Or inline 6, that's straight inline 6.
Yeah, double overhead cams, 24 valves, Vanos, and 5-speed transmission.
So Carl, tell me about your old cars, man. Tell me about how we got to this love affair with BMWs.
Great question. I've just like everybody, I've always been a motorhead, and I love cars ever since I was a kid. I had a bunch of different cars, but it started to get serious when I had a 97 Nissan Maxima GXE.
Tell me how you wound up with the Maxima, because back in the day, man, in the early 90s, or mid 90s, I guess you should say, the Honda Civic was the car to have. If it wasn't a Honda Civic, it was a Volkswagen. How did you wind up with a Nissan Maxima?
Well, I needed a family car because I just had my first son, and I needed a car that was a little bit bigger than your standard. But the second car that I bought from my son's mother was a 99 Honda Civic hatchback. So kind of worked on that a little bit too. Ended up selling it or trading it in or something. But I did always still want a Honda, because if you were in the import scene, Honda was how, Honda Civics were the car to have. Even though I had a Maxima that at the time was faster than all the Civics, right? I still wanted a Civic, so right. It was kind of ironic. But that also sparked my love affair, or embedded my love affair for a four-door car.
All right, so after the Maxima, I know you had one of the dream cars of mine, which is Mitsubishi Evo.
I did. So after the actually, I still had the Maxima when I bought the Evo. I get on these, I have like an itch for a particular kind of car.
I know very much what you're talking about.
Sometimes it's a 92 to 95 Civic hatchback. Sometimes it's a VIP style Infiniti M45. Recently it's been BMWs, but at one point I was dying for a Lancer Evo MR. Came close to buying a handful of them, and then I think on maybe Auto Trader I found this Apex Silver 2006. It was one of my dream cars. It was BBS wheels, the 17-inch BBSs, Brembos, Recaro seats, Momo steering wheel, 6-speed manual. It was bone stock. I didn't do anything to it. I had it for like a year.
It doesn't need anything.
It didn't. It was, the car was ridiculous. It was like a fine-tuned athlete with it was
that's great.
The car was just, it looked plain Jane, but I knew what it was about, and the car was, it was a lot of fun to have. I felt like I was learning the car more than the car was learning me, because I was used to a 200 horsepower front-wheel drive car, and this was all-wheel drive, 276 horsepower. I remember going to work one day in the rain, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna see if this thing buried the throttle at the light, and I just sidestepped the clutch, and it just squatted all four wheels. It was like, wow! I was like, ah! And I'm just hanging on, banging the gears, and the thing, it took off like it was on tarmac. It was an amazing car, and I'm sorry I sold it. I ended up selling it like a year and a half later, but you know.
Hey, we all you have that love affair with a car, and it lasts a pretty long time, and then after a while it's time to break up and go find a new one.
Find a new one. Yeah, I regret. That was one breakup I regret. I should have hung on to.
You got rid of the Evo, and tell me about how you came across this BMW, or tell the fans, I should say. I kind of know how you did because I was there along with you, but tell me how we got to where we are today.
So after I sold the Evo, I went years without any kind of real sporty car or anything to work on. I had a Pathfinder that was just it was my family car. So I had a friend of mine who actually has an M3, and I remember telling him he has a 95, and I was like, dude, I just think the M3 is like the perfect size. And he was telling me, he's like, dude, the car is phenomenal. You should really look into getting one. I had I made it a ritual to check Craigslist every single day, every moment that I get, and then obviously there was none in Jacksonville, so I'm checking other surrounding areas. This is a little city outside of Macon, Georgia, and I seen it. It was black. He had like 3 pictures on there. 97 M3, had 170 something thousand miles on it, and he was asking $5,000. I was like, this has got to be a scam. I was like, there's no way this is real. So I hit the guy up, and he's like, yeah, I am selling the car, but not right now because my wife just had surgery, so I can't talk right now.
Why is it on Craigslist?
Exactly. I'm like, either you're selling the car. I'm like, exactly. You want to sell the car, you want to sell the car.
Exactly.
So we waited a few days, and I hit him back up. I was like, hey man, sorry to hear about your wife, blah blah blah, but I'm interested in the car. Is it still available? So he texted me some more pictures, and then I asked all the requisite questions. Eventually we struck a deal, and my son and I, we hopped in his car, which oddly enough was a black BMW E36,
aka the breakdown machine.
The breakdown machine, which I ended up fixing. I ended up fixing all of his issues when we traded it in. It was on its last leg too, but
what does he have now?
Story. Huh? He has a Corolla now. Much more dependable.
You can't beat Japanese engineering. So tell me what you've done to the car since you've owned it.
Oh man, I when it comes to me and building cars, I start with a vision. Like a lot of people, I surf the internet, but I kind of get inspiration from other cars out there like mine.
Success leaves clues.
Yes, success leaves clues. I look at other cars and I'm like, and I take elements from them, from their build, from their design, and I picture and envision my car. So I upgraded wheels. It came with 17-inch DS2s, what they call it in the community, and I went with the LTW rims, which are lightweight. They're not really lightweight, they just call them lightweight. Style 24s, and they're wrapped in Goodyear F1 Eagle tires. I lowered it. Actually, Brandon and I lowered it, and that was a whole nother adventure. Yep. With H&R race springs, and it already had Coney struts and shocks. It came with an intake. It was chipped with a shark injector from Turner Motorsports, so raised the red line. The very first thing I did to it was tinted the windows because I like to be low key, and it was a black car, black interior. I just said, let's go ahead and finish it off.
And it's Florida.
And it's Florida, so limo tint, 5% all the way around. And I also replaced the exhaust. The catalytic converters were rattling because the heat shield was rattling, so I just replaced that with an Active Auto Works mid pipe. It's like a race pipe, really.
You don't need heat shields.
And then an eBay axle back type exhaust.
The exhaust sounds awesome.
It does. It's awesome. I wanted it to be a little bit louder, but now I've gotten used to it. I appreciate that it's fine because it actually does wail when you get into it. Yep. But under low key situations, we can have a normal conversation.
So, oh my God, I love the way those doors close. We are in the M5.
The M5.
We did a little car switch, if you can't tell. This thing is awesome. I absolutely love it. It's got so many straight lines on it. It's incredible. This dashboard is flat, and it's got this awesome flat surround around the air conditioning controls and your radio.
Yeah, it's a classic 80s, you know, late 70s, early 80s BMW German Euro design. Simple, straight to the point, functional, comfortable.
Seats are just like
it's an open greenhouse, so it's a great car. It's
no blind spots, right?
No blind spots.
You got thin A pillars. You know,
straight up design.
Yep,
you know,
that's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
So Carl, tell everybody about this car. It's got a huge story behind it, and everybody wants to know about it. So go ahead, tell us about it.
Oh wow, where do I start? So in 2015 I went to it's called Vintage at the Vineyards, which was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And you go to that every year, right?
I go there every year. It's in Asheville now, but this particular year it was in Winston-Salem, which is a gathering of you know, pre and post-war vintage BMWs, motorcycles, up to around 92, 93 is about the latest that they'll allow in. Obviously, my E36 was not a quote-unquote vintage, but all of my friends had vintage BMWs, 2002s, E24s, and you know, and one of them had an E28. So I get there and checked it out, and it was absolutely, you know, BMW Nirvana. Like every single kind of cool BMW that, you know, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s and early 90s was there. One particular one that caught my eye was the M5s, the E28 M5s. There was probably about 10 of them there, and they were all parked up against the wall. And I was just like, wow. There was only around 1,200 produced for North America, and here's 10 of them in mint condition. I was like, that's what I want. I want one of those. Drove up to Atlanta to look at one, and ended up being about $900 off in a price that the guy wanted to sell the car for. It was a nice, really nice version. Mint condition, nice interior, but what they were asking and what I was willing to pay was just two different numbers. So that's kind of the one that got away. I probably should have just $800 to $900, but I didn't know then what I knew now, what I know now. So there was another one in San Francisco that I was, you know,
San Francisco.
Yeah, it was in San Francisco.
The moon didn't have any?
Well, this one even came from further than that. So if you can think like, where's further than San Francisco? I found a place. So the one in San Francisco, I had a friend of a friend go and look at it for me, and he was like, hey, there's some frame damage here, and you know, I just couldn't knowingly pay for what they were asking, knowing that it had been wrecked. So that was about the second one that kind of sort of got away that I was really serious about. I kind of looked at a few others. They were full of rust, or the interiors were trashed, and I gave up. I was like, you know, to hell with the whole M5 thing. All these owners are ridiculous in their asking price or the condition of their cars. So about a month from going to Vintage in 2016, another friend of a friend sent a link for one in this place called Trinidad, California, which is geographically as far away from Jacksonville, Florida as you can possibly get. So I got to know the owner pretty well. We negotiated and talked, and he sent me pictures. I was kind of in a rush mode really to get the car because I wanted to bring it to Vintage in 2016, and but we struck a deal, and it was kind of a gamble because I didn't have anybody that could go look at the car due to its location, and on top of that, it was another adventure just getting the car shipped here.
What did it take for it to actually get shipped, and how much did it cost?
I think it was around $1,700. I don't even remember the exact number. I think it was around $15 to $1,700, and it took 1 week for the car to actually get here. But it's a week from Seattle, Washington. I had to wait an additional 4 or 5 days for them to pick up the car in Trinidad, California. Then from the hub, it took a week, and it got here. I left for Vintage on Thursday. It got here on Friday. So the car actually got here while I was at Vintage. It was delivered, and I didn't get to see it till after I got back. Obviously, I didn't get to bring it to Vintage, but I was still happy with the purchase. I came home, and here was a car that, you know, a year ago I was lusting after, and now it's sitting in my garage.
Keep talking about Vintage. Tell us more about what this Vintage thing is that you're going to.
Oh, Vintage! It's literally your birthday, your anniversary, Christmas, Passover, all rolled up into one. It's what I look forward to every year more than anything else. It's my weekend to get away and get with my friends. It's in Asheville, North Carolina, which is also the craft beer capital of America, and we go there the third weekend in May every year. We stay at a host hotel, and literally every classic BMW that's on the East Coast meets up for this weekend.
How many BMWs?
Last year they capped it at 650 cars at the show. That's not including people who are attending that.
Right,
You know,
might show up on their own.
Yeah, so they capped it at 650. So
do you show this?
Yeah, this past year I did show it, and we use the term show loosely.
Right.
Okay, the car wasn't even washed.
Is it judged?
It is judged. Again, it's 650 cars. There's like 3 awards. And there's nobody at the awards tent. Like,
and
everybody's.
This car won all 3.
It won all 3.
I know you're also involved with local meet stuff too. You're rocking the Jack's Beamer sticker on, or Bimmer, I should say.
Yeah, Jack's.
The Jack's Bimmer sticker on the other M3. So tell me about what you do locally.
Well, there's a Facebook group that, you know...
You're not even on Facebook. What do you know about a Facebook group?
I have my ways. Okay? I have my ways. I move real G's, moving silence, okay? So, there's a Facebook group, and there's also the BMW Car Club America, the local chapter, which is the First Coast chapter of BMW Car Club of America. They meet regularly, Cars and Coffee, and then they try to do an event at least once a month as well. Between work and school, I don't get to hang out with them as much as I like, but hopefully that'll change here in the future.
Something I've been wanting to ask, seeing that I've never owned a BMW, and when I think of BMW, I think
that'll change soon.
I think of breaking out your wallet more often than you might need to. But tell me what it's like to have a BMW as a daily driver, and which one of these do you prefer, the M3 or the M5, when it comes to just kind of everyday sort of driving?
I suggest for any car guy, definitely any BMW lover, to buy an E36 M3. I love the M5, and it's an icon in automotive history, but the E36 M3 is literally a car that if you were like, you have to have one car to live with for the rest of your life, this is the car you need to have.
It's the M3.
If you love going fast, if you love taking tight corners, if you love just feeling like you're wearing your favorite pair of jeans and tennis shoes, sneakers, that's an E36 M3. It's fast when it needs to be fast. It's docile when it needs to be docile. It's trackable. It doesn't drink a whole lot of gas, you know. I mean, I can't.
You can make it into a drift car if you want. I mean, it's kind of a jack of all trades. It's almost like a Mazda Miata.
It's almost.
It could be anything. Stanced.
Right. You can do anything with it. It's easy to work on. There's a ton. Everything is on the aftermarket for it.
Right.
And up to this video, they were relatively cheap, because after everybody watches this video, you're gonna go out and buy yourself an E36.
That's
M3.
true. This video is gonna make the BMW market go through the roof, guaranteed.
So you're not gonna find a $5,000 one like mine anymore.
Nah. This one is now worth 12.
I could probably easily sell it for double, triple from me.
Carl, thank you so much for letting us come out and hear the story behind your awesome cars. Check this guy out on Instagram, Drezoom. Yep, hashtag @Drezoom. And you can check me out on Instagram if you want, Extreme Daily Drivers. Please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this with any BMW friends. If you like these car stories, there are going to be more to come. Even if you don't like them, there are going to be more to come. So if you're interested in having us do a video on your car, please hit us up in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.